You want to know how to build an aura so heavy that people hesitate before they even think about crossing you. An aura that makes men second-guess their jokes around you. That pulls women toward you like metal to a magnet. That makes a room bend, ever so slightly, around your presence, even when you haven't said a word. What you're really craving is not just confidence, it's inevitability. The kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. It simply exists. And everyone else quietly adjusts themselves around it. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Power is not about being loved. It's not even just about being feared. Real power is being needed, becoming so central, so unavoidable, that people feel they cannot afford to oppose you. When your presence carries that weight, the game is over before it begins. In this monologue, we're going to walk through 10 stages of transformation. Not fluffy mindset tips. 10 brutal, psychological upgrades, each one a blade that sharpens your edge. By the time we reach the end, you won't just know how to look powerful. You'll know how to become someone it is dangerous to mishandle. If you're ready to step into that version of yourself, lock in. Let's begin. 1. The foundation of aura, unwavering certainty. Every aura starts in one place. Your own belief in yourself. Not the inspirational quote version. The quiet, unshakable conviction that lives behind your eyes. If you hesitate, the world chews you up. If you doubt yourself, your aura cracks, and people push where they see fractures. Machiavelli knew people follow strength, even when that strength is cold, even when it is inconvenient. Your job is to create the sense that your path is already carved, that you are moving in a direction that will not be altered by opinions, moods, or pressure. This is not arrogance. It's construction. Every look, every word, every silence becomes part of the structure. You start treating your reactions like currency. You don't spend them cheaply. You train yourself to withhold your first impulse to react, to not rush to explain, to let people sit in the tension of not knowing what you think. Because here's the truth. Weak men fill the air. They ramble. They justify. They overshare. They try to prove themselves with volume. Powerful men become economical. They treat words like a king treats gold spent rarely, with intention, and always for effect. From now on, imagine every interaction as a chessboard. Most people play checkers. They expose everything. They explain, defend, overshare, confess. They tell you exactly where to strike them. You, on the other hand, stand still. You watch. You listen. You calculate. You let silence work for you. The less you reveal, the more others project their own fears and fantasies onto you. They can't see your limits, so they imagine you have none. They can't read your emotions, so they assume you're in control. That uncertainty is the seed of your aura. If you want to start embodying this today, anchor it with a phrase in your mind. My silence is not weakness. My silence is control. 2. The mask of controlled power. Your aura is not your true self. Your aura is the version of you the world is allowed to see. Machiavelli said people judge more by what they see than by reality. That's not cynicism. It's an instruction manual. Raw, unfiltered emotion. Sudden explosions of anger, frantic excitement, obvious anxiety. These things punch holes in your mask. They tell people exactly where to poke you next time. So you build something different. Your face becomes a fortress. Your voice, a controlled instrument. Your eyes, calm windows that hint at depth but never fully reveal what's inside. When people can't read you, they can't predict you. When they can't predict you, they can't control you. That is controlled power, not faking everything, but mastering yourself so thoroughly that other people feel smaller, more chaotic, more impulsive in comparison. You cultivate quiet authority. You move with intention instead of rushing. You walk into rooms like time runs on your schedule. Everyone else is fidgeting, checking their phone, laughing too loud, chasing comfort. You are still. You are composed. You are present. You don't chase attention. You let attention realize, slowly and then all at once, that it's already orbiting you. True power is not shown by constantly trying to prove that you have it. It is shown by having nothing to prove. When you master this mask, people obey you without quite understanding why. They feel it, in their nervousness, in the way they choose their words more carefully around you, in the way they never feel entirely relaxed in your presence. They don't know if you're judging, if you're impressed, if you're indifferent, and that uncertainty makes them lean toward you, trying to win your approval, trying not to lose your respect. Remember this: you are not lying to the world. You are editing what the world gets access to. Let that be your new standard. My mask is my weapon. My emotion belongs to me, not to the crowd. We've built the foundation, certainty and a controlled exterior. Now we step into darker territory, the forces that actually bend people's behavior around you. 3. The calculated use of fear power without an edge is fragile. Respect alone is nice, but it doesn't hold everyone in line. There will always be people who confuse kindness for softness and softness for weakness. Machiavelli famously argued it's safer to be feared than loved when you must choose. Modern people hate that sentence, but the world keeps proving it true. Fear does not mean brutality. It doesn't mean screaming at people, threatening them, or playing cartoon villain. Fear is about perception. It's the quiet understanding that if someone crosses you, something they value can be taken away. Not necessarily their safety, but their comfort, their access to you, their opportunities, the ease with which they move in your presence. The man who inspires fear doesn't need to broadcast it. He doesn't talk about what he'll do. He doesn't warn. He doesn't bark. His presence implies consequences. People feel, if I disrespect this person, there will be a cost. Maybe not today, but it will come. That alone changes behavior. This does not require violence. It requires nerve, self-control, and the willingness to actually follow through silently when a line is crossed. You never show the full extent of what you're willing to do. That stays hidden. A visible threat can be measured. An unknown threat grows in the imagination, but fear on its own is unstable. People who only fear you eventually resent you. People who get nothing from you will leave the moment they can, so you bind fear to usefulness. You become the person people need, the person who opens doors, who creates opportunities, who raises standards, who makes lives better simply by being in them. Now they're in a double bind. They benefit from you, and they are quietly afraid of losing you. That tension creates loyalty that is very hard to break. Loved men are replaced. Feared and needed men are remembered. From now on, let your aura whisper, if you stay loyal, you rise near me. If you cross me, you feel it. 4. The art of emotional detachment. If you want to bend others, you must first stop being bent by everything that happens to you. Most people are puppets tied to their own emotions. Reject them and they crumble. Insult them and they explode. Ignore them and they chase. That is how they lose power. Machiavelli would tell you, never put your fate entirely in someone else's hands. When your self-worth depends on someone's approval, you've already surrendered. Detachment is not being dead inside. It is being untouchable. You still feel, but you're no longer ruled by what you feel. You stop letting rejection define you. You stop letting betrayal break you. You stop letting praise hypnotize you. When someone disrespects you and you don't flinch, it unsettles people. When someone leaves and you don't chase, it confuses them. When people expect panic and meet calm instead, they start to see you differently. They realize, I can't move this person the way I move everyone else. That realization is power. Detachment clears your vision. Emotions are fog. Detachment is clear air. You see the game as it is, not as your insecurity wishes it to be. You can still love, but you are not ruled by love. You can still hate, but you are not consumed by hate. You can use both as tools, never as cages. Imagine being able to watch your world shake and still remain steady, not numb. Steady. That is Machiavellian resilience. When you detach, you earn choice. You choose when to care deeply and when to cut ties, when to respond, and when to let silence answer for you, when to be generous and when to disappear. No one owns your reactions. No one owns your emotional state. Repeat this to yourself until it becomes true. I feel everything. I am controlled by nothing. You have certainty, a mask, an edge of fear, and emotional detachment. Now we turn to the tools that live between your tongue and your presence, your words, your silence, and the way you inhabit a room. 5. Mastery of silence and words. Words are weapons. Silence is the sheath that makes them deadly. Most people spill both carelessly. They talk to fill space, to be liked, to calm their own anxiety. The more they speak, the more they expose. You are going to do the opposite. Machiavelli believed rulers should rarely reveal their intentions. Silence is how you protect your strategy. When you stay quiet, people start talking more. They overshare. They reveal insecurities. They expose agendas. They show you where they're weak without you asking a single question. Silence makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to sit with themselves. Most can't. So they rush to fill the gap, giving you information you can later use. Then, when you finally choose to speak, your words land harder simply because they are rare. Your sentences should feel like verdicts, not diary entries. You don't speak to be fully understood. You speak to shape how people see the situation, how they see you, and how they see themselves. This means fewer words, sharper words, cleaner words. No rambling, no over-explaining, no justifying every decision. Justification is for people seeking permission. You're not seeking permission. You're issuing direction. You use short, firm statements. This is what we're doing. That doesn't work for me. This ends here. Say what needs to be said, then stop. Let silence sit on top of your words like a weight. People will replay what you said, looking for extra meaning. Good. Let them work. A reckless tongue destroys powerful men. A disciplined tongue builds them. From now on, speak less, listen more. Reveal almost nothing. Let this line guide you. My silence gathers information. My words change reality. 6. The weaponization of presence. Your aura is not just an idea. It's something people feel in their nervous system the moment you enter a space. Presence is when your energy, posture, and silence all send the same message. I am not here to be handled. I am here to be reckoned with. It starts with your body. You stand like the ground belongs to you. Shoulders back, chest open, head level. No twitching, no nervous self-touching, no constant scanning for approval. Weak men leak nervous energy. Strong men move like they have nowhere to rush to and nothing to prove. Then comes pace. You slow down. Anxious people hurry. They talk fast, move fast, jump to respond. Presence moves at its own speed. You take your time turning your head, shifting your gaze, answering a question. Without saying a word, you are telling everyone, I am not in a hurry. I am not pressured. You can wait. Eye contact is your third tool. You don't dart around. You don't stare like a lunatic either. You simply hold steady eye contact a second longer than most people are comfortable with. Then break it on your timing, not theirs. The one who looks away first loses the invisible tug of war. Then there's your voice. Slow, grounded, clear. You don't rush your sentences. You let air live between your words. You remove filler and nervous laughs. And finally, scarcity. You are not everywhere. You are not always available. You are not the person everyone can text at 2 a.m. and expect an instant reply. The man who is always around becomes background noise. The man who appears less often, but always with impact, becomes unforgettable. People should feel the room change slightly when you arrive, and feel something missing when you leave. Your presence is not something you perform. It's something you decide to become. Your internal script from now on. When I enter, the energy shifts. When I leave, the absence is felt. You've learned how to hold yourself, how to speak, and how to move like someone who cannot be handled casually. Now we go into the invisible layer of power, how you quietly hook into people's minds and how you protect your value with brutal clarity. This is where we talk about leverage and about boundaries sharp enough to cut. 7. The science of psychological leverage. If you want people to bend toward your will, stop trying to overpower them. Start understanding them. Most people think control means pushing harder, arguing louder, or proving they're right. That's amateur power. Real power is subtle. It doesn't shove. It pulls. Machiavelli knew men are moved by two basic forces, fear of loss and hope of gain. Every decision people make is a dance between those two poles. If you can touch both, you don't need to push anyone, they move themselves. Leverage begins with one skill: observation. You start paying attention in a way most people never do. Watch what excites them. Listen to what they complain about again and again. Notice who they envy, who they flatter, who they resent. Look at how they act when they think nobody important is watching. That's when their real priorities leak out. You're not judging, you're gathering data. You'll start to see patterns. This person is terrified of being left out. That one is obsessed with being admired. Another is desperate to prove they're smarter than everyone else. Each of those patterns is a lever. Once you know what someone truly values, you don't need to argue with them. You just position yourself where their values and your interests intersect. If they crave validation, your approval becomes rare but powerful. A single good job from you hits harder than 100 from someone else. If they fear exclusion, your circle feels earned, not granted. If they're hungry for opportunity, you become the doorway they want to walk through. You're not dangling carrots in a cartoonish way. You're simply aligning what you want with what they already want. You make it so that moving in your direction benefits them, and moving against you quietly costs them. That's leverage. When people choose what you want them to choose, and they think it was their idea. This is where dark psychology and realism fuse. You're not just reacting to people. You're designing the environment of choices around them. You plant ideas. You frame situations. You nudge their focus. They feel free, but every free choice inches them closer to the outcome you already mapped. But leverage is a sharp tool. Use it recklessly and people will feel controlled. Once they feel openly manipulated, they'll resist hard. So you stay measured. You give people enough freedom that they feel independent. You allow them to disagree sometimes, to win sometimes, to walk away from minor things without punishment. You don't need to control every detail. You only care about the few key decisions that actually matter. And for those, you set the stage early. You ask yourself constantly, what does this person fear losing? What do they dream of gaining? How can I become the bridge between the two? Then you position your presence, your help, your approval, your access as that bridge. Remember, brute force can break people, but it also breaks trust. Leverage bends people, and they often thank you for it. Let this idea sit in the back of your mind from now on. I don't fight for control. I design the conditions so control quietly belongs to me. 8. The discipline of ruthless boundaries. Power isn't only built through what you do to others. It's built through what you refuse to allow ever. Boundaries are the invisible lines around your empire. If you don't draw them clearly and defend them ruthlessly, everything else you're building will eventually rot from the inside. Most people don't have real boundaries. They have temporary preferences that they abandon the moment someone pushes back. They say, I don't like that, then allow it anyway. They say, this is the last time, 10 times in a row. And with every compromise, their aura shrinks. Weak men forgive too quickly, explain too much, and stay too long in disrespect. They think they're being understanding, but what they're really doing is training the world to treat them cheaply. A Machiavellian mind understands. Boundaries are not about being cruel. They're about being clear. Your energy, your time, your attention, your presence. These are not public resources. They are luxuries. When people sense they can access them no matter how they act, your value plummets. When they realize access can be lost, your value rises. From now on, your life runs on consequences, not empty warnings. If someone consistently wastes your time, you reduce their access. You stop rearranging your schedule for them. No announcements, no dramatic speech. Just fewer openings. If someone disrespects you, subtle digs, constant sarcasm, two-faced behavior, you don't beg them to change. You quietly step back. You respond slower. You share less. Eventually, you remove them from the inner circle entirely. If someone tries to exploit you using you, taking advantage, always asking, never giving you, let them feel the cost of that attempt. Once, clearly. After that, they adjust or they disappear. You enforce all of this calmly. No tantrums, no emotional scenes, just decisive action. Hesitation invites escalation. The longer you allow disrespect, the more dramatic it must be to finally stop it. Fast, firm boundaries prevent bigger problems later. Externally, this transforms how people experience you. You are no longer seen as nice by default. You're seen as selective, intentional. Not for everyone. Scarcity always amplifies value. That's true of money, of art, of opportunities, and of you. Internally, boundaries matter even more, because if you can't say no to yourself, nobody will take your no seriously. You draw lines with your own behavior, how late you let yourself scroll, how often you break your word to yourself, how much junk you allow into your mind and body, how quickly you act when you know what needs to be done. Self-control is the root boundary. If you're strict with yourself, people feel it. There's a weight to someone who holds themselves to high standards. Even your quiet presence says, I don't play with my life. A man who cannot control his appetites, his time, his reactions, will always leak power. A man who can control them radiates authority even in silence. Ruthless boundaries will polarize your world. Some people will fall in line, respect you more, and rise with you. Others will fall away, complain, or paint you as cold or changed. Both outcomes are useful. The ones who stay are those who can exist around strength without needing to break it. The ones who leave are those who are feeding on your lack of boundaries in the first place. Your new internal law should sound like this. My boundaries are non-negotiable with others and with myself. Access is earned, not assumed. When leverage and boundaries fuse, something powerful happens. You no longer chase influence or respect. Your very presence, your standards, and your structure do the work for you. You've mastered leverage. You've built ruthless boundaries. You've learned silence, detachment, and control. Now comes the final transformation. The moment when you no longer perform power, but embody it. This is the point where your aura stops asking for permission and begins shaping reality around it. The moment where you become inevitable. But to reach that level, there is one truth most people cannot face. Power requires cruelty, not chaos, not hate, but strategic cruelty. 9. The shadow of strategic cruelty. There will come a time when your silence, your leverage, and your calm won't be enough. Someone will test you. Someone will betray you. Someone will mistake your peace for weakness. And in that moment, mercy will not save you. Precision will. Machiavelli wrote that cruelty, when well used, can secure authority faster than kindness ever could. Weak men misinterpret this. They think cruelty means anger or violence. But the truth is colder. It means control of consequences. Strategic cruelty is the art of punishment delivered once, cleanly, and without emotion. It is the refusal to allow disrespect to survive. It is the decision to protect your value, even if others call you ruthless. It is the understanding that you can love peace and still be capable of war. You don't yell. You don't threaten. You don't explain. You simply act. If someone disrespects you publicly, your response is not rage, it's demonstration. Calm, precise, undeniable. You end the problem so completely that no one ever repeats it. If someone betrays your trust, they lose access to you forever. No dramatic exit, no argument, just silence and absence. Because in power, nothing is louder than quiet consequences. Cruelty is not about hurting people. It's about setting the standard for how you are treated. It's a reminder to the world that kindness is not weakness, and that you will never trade self-respect for approval. But cruelty must always be measured. Use it too often, and people will rebel. Use it too softly, and they'll forget your limits. The art lies in balance, sharp enough to scar, rare enough to haunt. You must also turn that cruelty inward. You must destroy your softness before the world does. Every lazy impulse, every excuse, every self-pitying thought must be executed like a traitor. The comfort that weakens your edge, the emotional indulgence that dilutes your discipline. These are the enemies you kill first. Be merciless with your own weakness. If you don't, someone else will use it against you. When people see that you are stricter with yourself than anyone else could ever be, they understand instinctively they cannot break you. They cannot guilt you. They cannot sway you. That's how cruelty becomes command. It's not violence, it's structure. It's the unwavering order that gives meaning to your mercy. Let this truth live in your mind. My kindness is earned. My cruelty is remembered. You don't need to tell people you're strong. You let them feel it. And the moment they do, they'll think twice before ever crossing your line again. 10. The crown of untouchability, everything you've built. Certainty, silence, the mask, the fear, the detachment, the presence, the leverage, the boundaries, and the cruelty leads to one destination: untouchability. Untouchability is not arrogance. It's not emotional numbness. It's the stillness that comes from knowing that nothing external can move you without your permission. The untouchable man doesn't chase validation. He generates it. He doesn't beg for opportunity. He creates it. He doesn't demand loyalty. He commands it through consistency, clarity, and quiet power. When people stand in front of you, they should feel something unspoken. This person cannot be shaken. You don't need to prove your worth. Your presence proves it. Untouchability is built on control of reaction, emotion, and timing. You don't rush. You don't panic. You don't reveal. You move with the confidence of someone who knows everything is unfolding according to plan. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold, but blind boldness is suicide. True boldness is measured risk supported by discipline. The untouchable man never acts from impulse. Every gesture, every silence, every decision is calculated. Over time, this consistency creates an illusion, an aura of inevitability. People stop believing you can be broken. That belief itself becomes your shield, because power, at its core, is not force, it's perception. Once people believe resistance is useless, they surrender willingly. This is the essence of the crown, the aura of inevitability, the invisible force that bends others to your rhythm. To reach that point, fuse everything you've learned into one state of being. Your silence commands attention. Your mask conceals your intentions. Your calm hides the capacity for cruelty. Your detachment makes you unpredictable. Your presence alters the atmosphere of every room. Your leverage directs the choices of others. Your boundaries define your worth. Your cruelty enforces your order. Together, these elements create an aura that feels untouchable, not because you dominate loudly, but because you exist unshaken. Untouchability cannot be inherited or imitated. It must be forged through relentless discipline, emotional control, and an unwillingness to break your own code. The untouchable man is not fearless. He has simply mastered fear. He's not emotionless, he's mastered emotion. He's not cold, he's composed. You become the center of gravity that others orbit, not through noise or display, but through quiet inevitability. That is Machiavellian mastery, dominance without performance, control without noise, command without chaos. From this point forward, stop trying to prove power. Become the man people feel power from. Because when your aura carries inevitability, resistance dies quietly in its presence. And when that happens, you wear the invisible crown, the mark of a man who has mastered himself so completely that the world bends to match his rhythm. Remember this final law: I do not chase power. I become the gravity it moves around.